Hey guys, it's your friend John here, and today I'm going to be making a very interesting weapon. Today, I'm going to be making a medieval style or medieval inspired flail or flail-like weapon. The first things you're going to need to make this flail are a long wooden pole, a thick metal chain, some large-sized nails or spikes, a baseball bat, or the top part of a baseball bat. Since I already have the top part of the baseball bat, I won't be needing the full baseball bat, so I can just get rid of that. So yeah, I just need the baseball bat top, and that's what I'm going to work with. The next thing you need is 2 large eye bolts or eye screws, and 1 wooden ball. Those are going to be all the things that you need to make this weapon. Now, I'm going to begin building it. Now, the reason why you want a baseball bat, or the top part of a baseball bat, is because this is made out of hard wood, and you want this to be strong because this is going to be the part that gets impacted over and over and over again. So it only makes sense that this part right here would be made out of hardwood or stronger wood. And your lower part, your wood, doesn't have to be hard. It can be soft because you're not going to be impacting it over and over and over again. So it doesn't have to be hard. It can just be soft. The same goes for your wood pole as well. It can also be soft wood. So because my wood pole is too long, I'm going to shorten it. So this part right here will be at 28 inches. So I'm going to cut this part off so it's the proper length. So now that I finished cutting it, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use the belt sander to help make this more smooth and more level because it's got rough edges and the cut is a little uneven, so I'm going to fix that by using the belt sander. So on the bottom of my wood pole handle, you can see right here in the center, I drilled a hole. And what I'm going to do with that hole is, I'm going to put a nail in it. You can see I took a nail and I cut the flat end off, so it's more like a peg or a rod. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that in that hole. Then, my wood ball, you can see I flattened one side down and I also drilled a hole right in the middle. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to put that right on this hole and I'm going to put some glue right in here. And I'm going to hammer all of this together so it can be one full complete piece. Because I had a gap between my wood ball and the main handle, what I did was, I took some wood filler and I put some wood filler in between that gap and I let it dry for a full 24 hours. And that made it look a lot better. So, now I gotta make my spikes. I gotta take all my nails right here and turn them into that. I gotta make a bunch of these out of all these nails. That's gonna be a lot of work. So, I got my nail right here in a vise and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this head off first. So now that I finished cutting off the flat top part, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make this part pointy by using the belt sander right here. I want to make this point look like this point so it's nice and sharp. I'm also going to make this point right here a little bit sharper so they can both be evenly sharp like this one. And a good trick on making this flat part right here look like a spike is you take it and you put it in a drill like you would a drill bit. And as you got your belt sander on, you turn this on and you're spinning it all the way around so you have an even spike or an even point right here at the top. So your nail looks more like a spike. Now I'm going to take some sandpaper and clean it up. I have finished grinding it down and making it into a point or a spike, and I also finished cleaning it up so it has a cleaner look to it. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut it in half so I have two individual spikes. To figure out how to put the nails in so they're spaced out evenly, first I took the baseball bat top and I cleaned it by wet sanding it. Then I rounded down the hard edges and made it more smooth by sanding it down. Once that was done, I marked out the center of the baseball bat top. Once that was done, I took the baseball bat top and I put markers on the center point of both the top and the bottom, and then I drew a line connecting them. Then I marked out the center of the side and I went all the way around it. After that, I marked out the center point on each side and drew a line going all the way across. Finally, I put dots in the center of each square that I made of the bat top. And that's how you mark it out, so when you put your nails in, they'll be evenly spaced. Alright, now that I'm all done telling you how to mark it all out and map it all out, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a drill bit right here that closely resembles the size and thickness of my nails or spikes, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to use it and I'm going to drill where I marked it out. I finished drilling out all my holes all around the bat top. I also put a hole here and a hole here, and these two holes are going to be for my eyeballs. They kind of screw in, not 100%, but I'll screw them in later and make it more finalized. But now that I have this is all done and this is all done, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take these eyeballs out and I'm going to blow torch this whole thing to give it a nice dark look. So you don't burn your hand while you're doing the bat top. Take a vise and put a long metal nail in it. And then that hole right there for the eyeball, you just stick it right in that nail and it's nice and safe. So when you blow torch this part, you're not burning your hand or blow torching your hand. It's away from your hand and it's safer. Now I'm going to put it in the sink. Now I'm going to start wet sanding. I'm going to take some sandpaper right here and get it wet and get my handle wet and just start wet sanding. I have my handle here. It is all dry, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a rounded off file and just file all around a groove, a spiral groove for my hands to grab onto, so when I'm using it I have a better grip grabbing it. I might be here a while. I'm finally done. Now that my handle is done and my top is all done, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start applying the clear coat on my handle and on my top. Now that the clear coat has finished drying on both my wood handle and on my wood bat top, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take all these metal spikes that I just finished making, and I'm going to take each metal spike right here, and I'm going to put in each hole of my wood bat top. I'm going to pour in a little bit of glue, and I'm going to put my spike in. Alright, one done. When you finish getting all the spikes in, just take a wet rag and just clean it up and get all that glue off. So when it dries clean. Now that I finished putting in all my spikes in my bat top, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my two eyeballs and I'm going to put each eyeball in each hole, one here and one in there, and then I'm going to attach the chain. And just take a wet rag and just clean up all that glue. And just let the glue sit for a full 24 hours so it can dry. I'm now on my next step, and that is to add the chain. Now to figure out how long you want your chain to be is, you take your baseball bat top, or the top part of this weapon, and you line it up right where the handle ends, right here. And the reason why you're doing that is because you want to make sure that your chain isn't too long. If your chain is too long, what could end up happening is as you're holding it, it can very easily swing around and hit your hand. And that would be very painful, and I don't want that. No user wants that. You want this thing to hurt the enemy, not the user. So you want to make sure you line it up right here, right at that point, right where my hand would end. And you take your chain, and you look for the eyeball, and you put it on that point right there, and then you put it on the other point right here, and that gives you an idea on how long you want your chain to be. I want my chain to be this length. So I got my chain secured in a vise, and I got it marked out where I want to cut it. Now I can take this ring and just take it right off. So now that I got my chain on, what I'm going to do next is each one of these rings here and here, I'm going to pinch each opening shut, and then I'm going to use weld putty to seal it shut so as it's being used, the head won't fly off. Okay, now that I got both my rings on and my chains on, what I'm going to do next is, now I'm going to add JB weld putty on that opening right there and that opening right there. Make sure you mix it good. and just put a little bit on that crack. And just let it sit for a full 24 hours. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to take my flail outside and start testing it to see what type of damage this weapon can truly do. But before I do, please remember to subscribe if you're a new viewer or you haven't subscribed before. Hit notifications so you can be aware every time I upload a new video. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment letting me know what you think of what I made. And if you want to help me get more viewers and possibly more subscribers, please share this video. Thank you. I finished completing my flail. It's all done. I also sanded down the weld putty on each ring opening to make sure that the head won't fly off as it's being swung around. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to test this weapon on this pineapple right here. Next up, a metal can filled with water. Alright, I combined the two together, the metal can and what's left of the pineapple. Now that the testing is over, what are my overall thoughts on this weapon? They're a little mixed, and here's why. So I'm going to start with the obvious of this weapon, and that is, while I was using it, it was a little unpredictable and a little unwieldy, which is not very good when you're using a weapon. And to be honest, as I was using this weapon and swinging it around, I didn't feel like I was fully in control. I felt like maybe I was 70 or 75% in control, and the weapon was the remainder 30 or 25% in control. And that's something you don't want. I kind of felt like as I was swinging it, I didn't fully know where this head part was going to land. It could have hit me on my head. So that's something you definitely don't want in a weapon. And I can totally see why this weapon wasn't really used that often in medieval warfare or medieval battles. There are some examples of this weapon being used, but very, very rarely, and I can fully understand why. It's just too unpredictable as a weapon. So now, I'm going to go on the next thing about this weapon, and that is, I love the way this weapon looks. It's really cool looking, and it's really intimidating. I love this spiral design that I did. It almost looks like leather, and it's a pretty firm grip. I feel like I can use it, and it's just not going to come out of my hands. And not to mention, it just looks really nice overall with the chain and the spike. It's just very, very intimidating. Honestly, I think it's more intimidating than a sword. Even though a sword is a much better weapon, this is just cooler looking and more intimidating. And this weapon isn't that bad. It did a lot of damage to the pineapple and to the metal can, and this weapon does do a lot of devastating force when being used. And when I was using it, there wasn't really that much damage done to the weapon itself. It's a pretty solid weapon, and nothing's really damaged or broken, and any damage that there is on this weapon is very minor and easy to fix. So it's a pretty solid weapon when you actually know how to use it properly and not swinging it around like some crazy maniac like me. So I'm going to wrap things up by saying thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your overall thoughts are on this weapon and what I made. Also, please remember to follow me on Instagram and also follow me on Reddit. Join my community on Reddit, but please don't follow me in real life. That would just be a little creepy.